Can y'all hear me clearly? ORACLE, I'm 007, and y'all know that this is me. Can y'all hear me clearly? If you can, put a one in the chat because we are about to get started and get into this. No one can I am the Oracle 007, and I approve this message. So let the games begin.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. And as Muslims, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to respect our women and to protect our women. And then the only time a Muslim really gets real violent is when someone goes to molest his woman. We will kill you for our woman. I'm making it plain, yes. We will kill you for our woman. We believe that if the white man will do whatever is necessary to see that his woman gets respect and protection, then you and I will never be recognized as men until we stand up like men and place the same penalty over the head of anyone who puts his filthy hands out to put in the direction of our women.
So the G's are just driving the car. Of course, next to the G's in the passenger seat is the L's. Everybody likes the L's, except for the G's. The only thing that breaks the tension between the L's and the G's are the B's in the back seat. If it's one thing that the L's and the G's agree on, is that the B's are fucking gross. Just sitting in the back seat like, yeah, man, I'll fuck anybody in this car. What's going on, man? And sitting next to the B's, that's the T's. Anything the T's say gets on everybody's nerves. And then the T's don't even say anything bad. They just be in the back talking to themselves. I'm hot. Shut up. Shut the up, okay? What? Just said I was hot.
I'm sorry. I have always loved that breakdown. So, hey, peace and blessings to all the true people of Yah, the true nation builders. We always imitated. Y'all know how I say it. Never duplicated, unwilling to assimilate, set apart, Sabbath keepers. We are the peculiar people that the scriptures speak of. We are the apple of Yah's eye. Shalom, peace and blessings, family. Look, y'all know I can only do so much, okay? Until I really learn this system, you all just grin and bear with me, okay? I had to insert that Dave Chappelle clip on the Crayola Brigade because given my research over the past couple of weeks, This car ride is like one of the best ways to humorously explain what's happening, except the G's and the L's are not necessarily benefiting from this one way or the other. And I think I'll be able to explain it later. Y'all, don't let me forget. I'm doing my best here. And peace to that brother, Sketch and Sound, who created this animated reference. I believe he's actually from the other side of the pond. And it appears to be like the only place that they've been permitted to have some kind of honest dialogue concerning this matter. I love what his mind was able to recreate from Dave's awesome assessment on this car ride because much of it, honestly, from the tunnel that I've been having to go down the dark road, back up, Uber. This has been what I have been seeing because I want to make sure that I'm giving the fairest account as possible for everyone. So, I even began to go down the sketchy road in my mind, wondering why is there an organization directed toward who we're attracted to? But to be honest with you, I know it's more than that. But follow me here for a minute because y'all know how I do. This is my imagination. In my mind's eye, I created a flag that was in all different shades of sepia and Kadar colors with the faces of Malcolm X and Med Grabbers and, of course, Morris Chestnut. Keith Sweat, Blair Underwood, D'Angelo. Y'all saw my D'Angelo community post, okay? I'm sorry. This is just what it is. Prince, honey, the possibilities were endless, but then I digress. For the sake of this content, amongst much of what I do, I am simply researching with a desire to be as educated as much as possible, okay? We do not promote discrimination in any form, but we seek to comprehend all sides of the matter and weigh them in the balance as we see fit, as it is to us. So, despite my witty, common sense approach and my very balanced perspective, please note the following in accordance with the medical disclaimer that I've already provided previously. I am not a medical professional by any means authorized to diagnose nor treat any health concerns or conditions. So if you're considering to become a T that Dave Chappelle was talking about in the car as referenced by him, or whether you are considering to DT, to detransition, please consult your aforementioned health professionals to guide you with regard to your concerns as it pertains to the subject at hand. So, this information provided is actually solely for informational purposes. Now, I took a look into this matter because I personally had questions after witnessing shenanigans on the web surrounding menstruation. I don't know how many of you all saw that. For the gentlemen that have been included in here, whether you have wives, girlfriends, daughters, women in your life, certainly you will all know about this. This is not a general conversation, again, that I always look to have with men, just something that they just understand. I personally wondered if it was all possible for scientists and surgeons to now make it where males can menstruate after their transitions, after their T's, as referenced by Dave Chappelle, to present as a woman. And there became for me what I was described, I want to say like mini crusades or neo crusades against people who don't agree with the T's. And oddly enough, that car ride actually carried more people than we thought it did because there's a lot of people who were not agreeing with the T's. Okay. As referenced by Dave Chappelle. Okay. Because of the idiocy of the thought of male menstruation, one, the gaslighting that the T's referenced uh, are actually women was unbelievable. But I would like to say I still had questions. So I came to a more educated understanding concerning the mystery that there are larger pictures concerning the T's as referenced. Okay. The children involved in it and the research that kind of led me here, this is what I would like to share with my community. And I'm going to also be honest in stating this. I'm not necessarily here for a conversation with the T's, okay? Unless it's everyone that does not necessarily identify as a male to female, because just from my research, just from the things that I was seeing, a lot of them seemed like they didn't want to see both sides. It was something else to actually witness the female to male. There was understanding there. There was something that their minds still didn't change. But when I saw the female to male, I'm sorry, the male to female transitions, there was a consistent shutdown. And it was almost like how Dave explained it in that car. Like they couldn't say anything. And what I saw was the F to M, there was immediate shutdowns in a lot of the conversation. There was cold reaction. So I probably saw two of all of the information that I was able to pull where the male to female were just, they were kind, they were understanding, they were soft, and they were gentle. And they allowed for a full and complete conversation. There's a lot of stuff that I witnessed that was even going on across the pond. It's getting physical over there, very physical, and I saw some of that over here as well. Okay. In the meantime, to let you all know, this is a very grown-up conversation. I suggest that you please remove any children under the age of your consent from the room. However, it is your prerogative and your responsibility to educate your children how you see fit. So, given all that's going on in the world, I can understand if you'd rather have them listen, but I'm just letting you know you'll hear some things that are contrary to the beliefs in your household. And in addition to inappropriate language that you may or may not wish to have your children subjected to. I just felt like I should let you all know that I've been very intentional about the information that I'm providing to you. And this information has been so inundating, it's been massive. I've had to edit many videos to shorten them with what I felt was the most important information in that video to get to you. But this is also a PSA, mainly to the sisters that are supporting what I've personally witnessed as like passive aggressiveness in the aforementioned T's as reference. Okay, it's indicating like misogyny, and I implore you to please investigate and reconsider your position as you would in any relationship. So, considering, one of the things that I noticed was a lot of the main element or ingredient that I've witnessed in these conversations were no different than what I saw with MGTOW, Red Pill, System, Incel, Kevin Samuels, whatever he was, and any other He Man Woman Haters Club. They were directing their displeasure with Black women, whether or not it was to deter them from getting their education, claiming we lack femininity, shaming Black women for single motherhood, or either not desiring marriage or children, twerking, hair weaves, makeup, eyelashes. The list continues to grow. Brothers, listen to me. Listen to me clearly, okay? If that's not you and it don't apply, let it fly. Okay? I'm just letting you know. These are some things that I discovered in my research. So I noticed also, and this thing has become political, and somehow, it's almost like the civil rights era is is raising its head up again, because one of the things that I noticed the far left and the far right doing, the far left is condoning some of the weirdest objectives in this, where children have the rights to adult decisions. And the far right, uh, their community, whether it's doctors, podcasters, or others, they are ignorantly comparing the battle that they have against their children transitioning. They're comparing that movement to their battle against CRT. If you have not witnessed this, uh, just pull up anything. I'm not on anybody's side here. It's just something that I'm showing how they're slowly integrating this argument that based upon any discrimination that we may have felt that's been presented by Black people, that this also is getting intermingled. I don't know how in the world we are constantly getting intermingled with things that have to do with people's sexual identity. And and on another side with people's religion. I don't get that. And I'm telling you this, nobody's going to be able to explain it. Okay? I do not get it. Nobody's going to be able to explain it at all. So, I don't want us to either lean either way except for the word of the Most High. Okay? As is customary, you know how this political law twisting machine never thinks things through. They never think things through. And you know what? Y'all always comes back and delivers a blow. Boom! In the future, he's going to show up and kick their butts with something for always intermingling us in this. This is why we shouldn't be putting our name on any of this stuff. Okay? And it always comes back to haunt them. This is their battle because their children are being influenced with the media. Now let's think about the media. The media, this is the same media that they have used against us for not just, for centuries. They've used their media against us for centuries. And now I don't think they ever saw some of these things coming back against them, even as we sit here and try to watch them whittle away slavery. Okay, where we made it where uh, slaves had the ability to make money off of whatever it was that they were doing. Well, then why were they called slaves? If this is true, why were they called slaves? And why, when they escaped, as is with one said Thomas Jefferson, I don't know how many of you knew about that story. He caught one of them, and I think he cut the guy's, he took his ears. So, I mean, if it was so fabulous and we were given all these job skills and training and wonderful opportunities, please tell me what, why would we, explain this to me. And it reminded me also of Joe Biden's, I was about to say Joe Brown, Joe Biden's crime bill. Like, who would ever thunk it that Hunter would have come up and become some type of criminal extraordinaire, committing acts even against the country during his father's administration. Now, I bet old Joe never thought that that was going to happen when he had to protect the children, his children, from the Black community. But again, I digress. So, but let's get into this subject because it just heats me up just thinking about it. Apparently, let's address the menstruation situation, okay? I've already told you I've seen misogyny. Okay, let's address this because many seem to have lost the art of basic understanding of biology, albeit Yah designed it and it has not been able to be disproven as of yet, regardless if it is displaced with a or replaced with a new social warrior indoctrination, regardless of whatever it is, it has not been able to be sat down. Nothing's been able to be found wrong with it. There's no way around it. So I want to reiterate the following scriptural information. Only biological women can have monthly menstruation cycles. Okay? Biological males, regardless of any enhancements to present as a female, cannot. Regardless of any societal views, there are no other genders other than male and female that can create male and female. Okay? Only an egg and a sperm can reproduce male or female children, regardless of the species. And unless you identify as an asexual creature that can reproduce on your own, I think I've mainly seen that in plants, I don't know, then you cannot do so. I mean, if there's any scientific research, let me know. So, even despite a June 15th article by WION, World is One News, they came out with one where they said scientists have now claimed to create babies out of stem cells. So there was no need for a sperm or an egg. That was a June 15th article because, again, I'm going to be honest with everything that I find. But I personally find that their attempts were futile. Okay? This creation was a failure. The organism that they managed to produce had no beating heart and nor did it have a brain. Okay? And I forgot to mention that it still required a womb to attach to. So that was a June 15th article by Weon. World is One News. It's easy for me to reject this claim, and I'm going to tell you why. Because, of course, my brain now asks, well, hey, where do stem cells come from? Well, they came from 3 to 5 day old embryos or adult bone marrow or blood or perinatal stem cells. So that's when you find out you're pregnant up to about the year that it takes to bring the baby forth, meaning that it still comes from Yah's production, beginning with the male and the female that he created. So there was still an egg and a sperm that was required to create even that with no brain and no heart, which pretty much describes quite a number of people running around the face of the earth right now. Okay? I think about Leviticus 12, 1 and 2, where Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and says, speaking unto the children of Yasharel, saying, this is what he was to say to them. If a woman have conceived seed and born a male child, then she will be unclean 7 days, according to the days of her separation for her infirmity. Shall she be unclean? And that, that's twice as much when you go from there if you give birth to a female child. Either one. It does not say if a woman or a man. It says if a woman. She's the only one. Nobody's been able to dance around that yet, at least not for me. So she, the woman, the female, the only one experiencing menstruation. All right, so we've gotten that done. That was a lot, wasn't it, y'all? So let's dig a little bit deeper and get into this, shall we? Because this situation that I've been kind of noticing around the menstruation, it got a little thicker than I expected to. So here it is. Let's take a break. All right, I wanted to take a look at these first couple of videos because I would like for the sisters that are in the chat, please, I want you to examine these videos because I want you to look for something. Examine the sisterhood or the camaraderie of men who are telling us, these males that are telling us that they are indeed our sisters. So I want you to check for empathy, nurture, all the things that a woman would give when you're talking things out and you're causing others to understand because, I want you to check for sugar and spice and everything nice because after all, that's what little girls are made of. So let's go in and let's listen to this character weighing in at 79 pounds is a biological male. His 5 o'clock shadow smothered with his 89-cent store petroleum-based geisha face makeup. with what my grandmother would call big red lipstick, is emotionally stirred. He is emotionally stirred by the audacity of biological women to claim menstruation while he's also refusing to completely transition or transition at all, actually. So listen to this.
So many people trying to figure out what the hell Blessing Rose was talking about when she said that women don't own periods.
Arrogance for cis women to believe that they own periods. Because my thoughts come from the universe. I don't care about a period. Never have. I don't even like pain.
There's no such thing as a biological woman.
Because I am talking to my higher self. Just like, what?
I've been told y'all that sis was nuts and bolts and cheese and crackers. We are not the same kinds of girl. And I'm glad that we're having this discussion publicly so that they can see that all black trans women ain't the same.
At the end of the day, that hood mentality isn't going to get us anywhere.
Y'all saying, you being transphobic, that's our girl.
You know it's your girl.
And let's be clear, it was black trans women and black gay men that showed you bitches what it means to present hyperfeminine, right?
Cisgender women are the archetype for female presentation. Since the dawn of contemporary drag, the relationship has been give and take between trans femmes and cisgender women.
When I grew up, you want to look like Marlene Dietrich, Betty Grable. Fortunately, I didn't know that I really wanted to look like Lena Horne.
But as soon as a trans woman takes their pills and and imitates women, right, now they can't call their cycle a period. And the fact that you said that we're just trying to imitate you and that's the highest form of flattery, no one's imitating you, we're imitating ourselves.
But
Really? Really?
if it's not imitation, what would you call it, love?
But I'm literally the one that are telling trans people you don't have to transition to be trans.
So if you don't transition, are you really trans? Where is the trans part of the gender coming in? If it ain't you, then what's the point of saying it is?
And this is why I don't present as a quote-unquote woman most of the time. And this is why I deliberately don't go on hormones, and I deliberately don't do this because
Baby, it seems like you still figuring out yourself.
I would do those things if I wanted to, if I felt like there was a need to. I don't.
Then why are you taking up space and speaking for people who do?
I think there's delusion involved because
I think there's delusion involved too, especially that put that makeup down. That doesn't even match. It's irritating me. It looks like you put Vaseline in it and just smeared it all over your face with big red lipstick. You know, y'all said, let us make man in our image after our likeness and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So Yah created man in his own image. In the image of Yah created he, him, male and female created he, them. Yah blessed them, and Yah said to them, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every little thing that moveth upon the earth. So that was Genesis 1:26 through 1:28, right? So when I first decided to review this, I was ready to rip into the fact that I saw males who were out here telling women, biological women, that they, males, were now the women in society, and biological women were now to be called something else. We were cisgender, chest feeders, womb holders, all kinds of clownery. And I am not of this what do you call these kids, the millennials and whatever generation they are. I couldn't believe it. There's no other pronoun for me except for she, her. You know, me, I'm me. But the more that I researched this, the more that I thought about it, period, because a lot of us don't really think this thing through. This became a little bit dangerous to me on so many levels. Now, I foresee the problem coming in the future that will not only affect women, and I don't think anybody's thinking about that right now. Even if people are thinking this is funny, or we're going to use this to terrorize, you don't foresee what is about to happen. And I'm not even going to tell you. Okay? We have a foresight. Women just have that thing. You can't just do whatever it is that you want to do. We see what's going to happen. Like, you're not going to see me out here just dating for me, like, I don't know, 15, 20, 25-year-old, because I'm going to be thinking about what's going to happen in the next 20 years or so. When this person becomes 40, decides they're sick of me, prayerfully, I can keep this body up and keep it going. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. Even to a fine, I could be looking at a fine 20-year-old, 25-year-old or something like that, and they wound up losing a limb or anything. You never know what's going to happen, but I try to think and see things ahead of time. That is part of the beauty of maturity. Okay? Women have insight, intuition, and I'm telling you, this is going to be a problem. And I know it's going to be a problem because I started seeing some of the elves in that car trying to break away from the Crayola Brigade. I've seen this. So, and you're going to see it as well. And I'm sitting here amazed, going, of all people that would see that there was going to be a problem, it would definitely be them. And it's for more reasons to me than what they're actually putting out there. So I was personally wondering why these males were in women's spaces and they were complaining about women's biological functions when they were still, in every sense of the word, males. I opened my eyes to how much many males truly don't understand the inner workings of a woman and her body and everything that she has to go through. Is dangerous. It's dangerous. I had to personally take one for the team in this research to answer as much as of the following that I could. Like, why were these males in women's spaces? Why were they there where a woman would have to take care of her personal hygiene, even on the go? It's uncomfortable for her. For someone who's not necessarily a woman, a female, biologically, I can imagine it being uncomfortable for them, which is why I'm sitting here telling the brothers this is something that I don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about. It's something that I'm seeing. Why was this even permitted? Why were they even complaining about it? And they're making fun of it. Like, I don't get it. Have these males ever heard of the blood loss that's involved in fibroids? The danger in just carrying a womb? We don't just get to put on pretty dresses and makeup and look cute and try to go for passing. There is a lot entailed in this, but I'm finding that it's hysterical to others. It's enough to complain about. This is completely oppressive to me. Okay. And let me make this statement because, again, I came here to make a firm and fair assessment. Although I'm not a supporter or sympathizer with the certain members of the T's as referenced, I want to let you know in my research and my personal inquiries to medical professionals, videos, there were some cases where, I'm going to be honest with you, I could truly understand and overstand the confusion. I could. My heart went out to a number of these individuals. And sadly, some of them were children making this decision. Some of them were children making the decision, and some of them, this was actually the case. I'm going to bring that information to your attention as to why, because I have to remain authentic. I've got to be genuinely honest with you and logical, in which the male and female created he them was still unable to be disproven or worked around. So I want to get in just a little bit deeper. This is something else. I think I think this was like for comedy, but it's really not. I don't get it.
Day 12 of being a girl, and we're gonna go buy tampons.
Let's first talk tampons. I haven't talked about tampons on here lately because I don't use them. I'm a woman who doesn't have a uterus. I know this. Probably thinking, Dylan, where are you gonna put those? They're not for me. But this last weekend, I was in the restroom and the girl in the stall next to me was like, hey, do you have a tampon? And I froze. I was like, sorry, no. But in that moment, I decided, you know what? I'm always going to have one on hand for anyone who needs it. You come over to my house and we're having a glass of wine, I got a tampon for you. If we're in the club together and then we go to the bathroom, I got a tampon for you. Women supporting women. Love ya.
Hey, it's good for children to see LGBTQ lives and LGBTQ people. And it's not just good, it's wonderful. We spend so much of our time fighting bigots like this and screaming, it's okay to show children LGBTQ lives. But it's not just okay, it's not just good. It's perfect, it's wonderful, it's beautiful.
They have reached out to trans influencers, meaning dudes, who do not have a vagina, as sales mechanisms. So apparently, Dylan Mulvaney reported like a while ago, this would be the famous trans person, the man who believes that he is a woman who interviewed Joe Biden. Dylan Mulvaney said that Tampax had actually approached him about being a sponsor. Tampax US put out a tweet. It said, you're in their DMs. We're in them. We are not the same.
I don't know who this clown, all of them, you know what? Let me get into this first and then we'll go.
This was attached to the end. It was like, this is a great red flag why women's bathrooms should only be for women. This woman was in the privacy of a woman's bathroom going through something only a biological woman could understand. But apparently Mr. Manhands posted something about a bathroom and said, the horror, the pad is so big. Mr. Manhands got offended by the sight of someone's maxi pad. And so here is the video footage. Hold on.
Straight up.
I'm gonna let y'all hear.
I just left out of the bathroom at one of these rest stops over here on the road trip, bitch. I just saw the biggest motherfucking maxi pad I ever seen in my fucking life. Okay? I went in the stall to pee. I came out from peeing, and this lady had her shirt, her panties, her bra, and her motherfucking big gigantic ass ultra maxi pad hanging over the stall. I can't.
Because he can't. You know, foremost, again, gentlemen, men in my chat, family, I'm greeting you all again. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, thank you. I can only see so much because this took a lot out of me. Okay. I'm not accustomed again to having this kind of conversation around men, but for the sake of this matter, this needed to be addressed. And I'm glad that you understand, especially if you have women in your life. You know, when I saw this T.S. Madison character, I'm sitting here again. It's okay for you to put on your heels and your dress and your wigs and parade around and behave as if you are and brag about still keeping your nether region. Okay? That means you have no understanding. If any of you men are familiar or have women that have ever had complications with regard to fibroids, women that have ever lost a baby, you know, women that have actually had an issue of blood, just imagine. I don't even know the best way to explain it to you. You've been playing basketball or football all day, and then you've just got sweat that's just running down your back. This isn't even a good enough explanation. Let me make that clear. Okay, it's just sweat. It's constantly sweat, or you constantly have sweat in your nether regions, and there's no way to keep it dry. And imagine that no matter what color pants you are wearing, that sweat is just taking up everything. There's no way to soak it up, not even if you wear what K Judah likes to refer to as dependies. Okay, we call them depends. Y'all know how he does. I don't even know why he does that, but you understand what I'm saying? There's no way to stop that. And sometimes it's not even the 28-day that allotment that is normally done every month. Sometimes it's more than that. It drains their energy. It drains everything within them. Their platelets, their load, their iron, and they still have to get out and go to work. And for some reason, this guy walking around in a dress and hair, as this lady said, Mr. Manhands, I don't know anything about this guy. Okay? This was his complaint. And they will tell you, is there anything here to make you think that these people take you seriously, sisters, as sisters? Somebody who's videotaping themselves in makeup to present as a girl with nails on and say it's day 12 as a girl and we're going to go buy tampons. And then they shake up their fingers, shimmy. I don't understand what's so funny about this. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've never had these problems. Never. But I overstood as a woman with other women that have had these issues. In some cases, when I was younger, I had to grow to know how much of a situation it was because I didn't have the situation. Okay? Even then, this was still not to be ridiculed. This is a biological male mortified by actual items. And if you ever looked into any of those previous guys' videos, and that one guy with the beard was not even trying. He had on earrings and a necklace and a shirt, a blouse, and wasn't even trying, and makeup. This is no empathy whatsoever. All of this was just misogyny to me, especially with him. He can't. I don't understand why they're not just called, like, referred to as floaters. Because somewhere there's a faux womanhood that you don't completely understand, and you put it out here on video and we see it. And you still keep your maleness where you don't understand. And this is by your own account. Even the first guy with the geisha face makeup, he is invading not only T spaces, he's invading women's spaces, male spaces, G spaces. He's just triple and quadruple dipping. And I don't understand how that's permissible. Are you just simply permitted to call yourself women because you're wearing a sparkling pearly peach lip gloss, a tank top, and you can call yourself, Alexa? Now, I ran across cases where my heart actually went out to the T's and the D transitioners. This is my quest for simple understanding and overstanding, and I did not handle it like how I saw the mess that I just saw. You know, the scripture does say that a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways, and I see that. They won't go one way or the other. The scripture says this, and I have to question what makes them, and if somebody has an answer for me, please let me know. What makes them any different than a drag queen? If somebody can put that in the chat, let me know. I don't know. If you can offer me some clarity, because I am at one point I saw where it's like a performer, but that's how you're presenting because you don't understand the things that women actually have to go through. Anyway, this was really something. Hold on just one moment, family. Let's go for a break quickly.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the
All right.
law and I decide. So I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
The way that lady said fundamental and lifted up her eyebrow to look at her, I could have had at least an iota of respect for her if she had only responded with, like, well, a woman is an adult female. Instead, her face scrunching did not indicate that she was the intelligent woman that we Black women were told to get behind at all. I'm not even going to lie about it. I'm not going to pretend. I have my own views on her. If you all remember the video that I had done about the ridiculous chef Way, I have her in there, okay, with some deep-seated information regarding her. She's not dumb by any sense of the word with some of the trickery that she has been able to pull, okay? However, that right there was just, I don't know. For me, I would consider it asinine. Okay? But allowing ideologies like this due to censorship, I could have at least had some respect for her, an iota, just a teensy bit, but none. She gets none. Okay? We understand that there's a greater agenda, but we also understand you're not able to stand your footing at all. Okay? Brothers, I want to make this appeal to you. So if you have a woman or a little girl in your life that you even remotely love, you're out and about. After the fact that Katanji could not define what a woman is, should you have to fear for their lives if they can't go to the bathroom in an ice cream spot? If they wanted to treat themselves to the spa? If they're even being read to someone that could just be somebody's grandfather who likes to dress up in women's clothes, they could be very well meaning, but should you even have to think about that? Yes, anything could happen, but still, why open the door? Okay, so if your daughter is exploring her options and God forbid, your daughter is exploring her options with both boys and girls. None of us want that to happen. Essentially, she's still a burgeoning virgin. Her hymen remains intact, but she comes into contact with a T woman who could possibly guilt her into relations that she's just not ready for, and calling her T-phobic, because that has been the thing of the day. I've been noticing a lot of that too. I'm very concerned that we do not consider why these males presenting as females, they are into women's spaces, restrooms, dressing rooms, locker rooms, and even have their choice of prisons by declaring themselves women. they're stating they don't have to transition, as you heard Geisha Face say. Why is their voice the loudest? Why can't they have a true discussion without getting physical? Because again, I've told you across the pond, that's what's happening. Why is there no understanding? I mean, I want you all to really think about that, because I know you have women in your lives that you love. If you claim as a male that you have to teach us bees hyper femininity, why don't you just complete your transition? Why is this permitted, or why aren't they told that they are not going to be considered as such until the transition is completed? And this is just a question. This is a question. How many other ways are they going to be permitted to play a system that refuses to make like a solid rule for them? And again, I'm telling you, I can foresee the future. Right now, it seems like it's terrorizing the ladies. It's going to be more than that later. Okay. And I suppose to make it safe or to make it fair, some of them can have breast augmentation or just have breast added and present as a Baphomet statue. That one where he has breast and then not take estrogen hormones, or they don't have anything, they don't have that going all the way surgery. It is still unfair, as many of these males are doing this well after puberty, which makes a big deal. They are more stronger and they are much more powerful than any woman. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to present to you that not all of these males actually believe that they are women. Because if they were, wouldn't you think that they would take all the steps? For the ones that I saw that felt that way, they took the steps. And for me, it's something sinister. Now, I have no problem, and I want to make this very clear. We have no problem with everyone living their lives as they see fit. It is Yah's desire that we choose life and that we choose him. However, when you consider the fact that he is giving us a choice, it's his desire that you choose him and that you choose life, but he's still giving you an option. You don't have to. I personally don't think that's wise, but he's giving you a choice. So nobody can say that you don't have that choice. And that's whether you believe in him or not. You have that absolute right. I just don't wish that there be an option for hurt, harm, or danger to anyone else, for predatory behavior toward anyone else. Because personally, if I just decide I'm going to jump in my vehicle today and go run up to the Pentagon or the Capitol, and then I'm going to tell them, hey, I work here, because I stole somebody's congressional pen and I have on a blue suit, or if I put on some shades and said, hey, I'm your new, what do you call them people? Secret security person. I can't do that. These people will have something in place where they're going, look, we have never seen you before. In addition to your congressional pen, you have to have this, that, thus, and those. I'm sure it's not just their congressional pen that gets them in, I'm sure. But I don't want any hurt, harm, or danger to fall to anybody else. Why would somebody think that this was okay? This is dangerous. And what about our daughters? Why did they have to be put at risk on a girls' day out, away at a school or sorority house, or while in the restroom, while at high school? So I'm going to submit to you my exhibits A through G. Okay? A through G. Let's take a look at this.
When college students join sororities, many of them do it for the sisterhood, for a place to belong, for lifelong friendships. They don't do it in hopes that a man will invade their personal space, staring at them silently, creeping them out. But that's exactly what happened at the Kappa Kappa Gamma House at the University of Wyoming, according to a new lawsuit. 6 sorority sisters say they were forced by the national chapter to allow a man, Artemis Langford, into their women-only organization because Langford says he's transgender. Now, a house where men, even fathers and boyfriends, are banned from being on the second or third floors because that's where the bedrooms and the communal bathrooms are. But Langford had access to all of it. According to the lawsuit, several times Langford had chosen to sit for hours on the couch in the second floor common area. Langford stares at women walking past. One sorority member walked down the hall to take a shower wearing only a towel. She felt an unsettling presence, turned, and saw Langford watching her silently. The suit also alleges that he has watched members enter the house and sometimes had an erection visible through his leggings. Other times he had a pillow in his lap.
I just threw up a little bit in my mouth. Excuse me. Does this remotely, even the ugliest woman, do you see this? So you brushed on your eyebrows. This is not funny. I'm trying to stop laughing, but it's ludicrous. Okay? So you brushed up your eyebrows, had some mascara on and powder, and you put on your sparkly peach lip gloss. And that was it. That's all it took. And you put on a pair of leggings that we could visibly see an erection through. Child, what is this? Is not funny. Let's go to the next. This is unbelievable. This is dangerous. This is dangerous.
News 4 confirmed last night that the Loudoun County School Board voted unanimously to fire Superintendent Scott Ziegler effective immediately. The school board met in closed session. They discussed the special grand jury report that was released on Monday. That report found Loudoun County Public Schools administrators looked out for their own interests rather than the best interest of the school district throughout their handling of 2 sexual assaults committed by the same high school student. A 14-year-old student sexually assaulted a girl at Stonebridge High School in May of 2021. He was allowed to transfer to Broad Run High School, where he abducted and sexually assaulted another girl in October of that year. The teen was later convicted in juvenile court. Members of the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors actually were the first to confirm to us that the superintendent had been fired. There are reports that because of the superintendent's contract, he will be paid in full. However, News 4 is working to confirm those details for you right now, and we will bring you the very latest as we learn it throughout the day, both on air and online. Reporting in Loudoun County, Drew Wilder, News 4.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today.
This is utterly ridiculous. Okay, and I think what happened with him, y'all, I just looked in the chat. I was trying to, because they keep popping up on this end, but I can't really read them. So thank you all for joining me here. But I did see Sister August. Sister August, thank you so much. I saw all of y'all. So don't think that I'm not trying to mistreat you or anything. I'm so happy to see her. Okay, I'm happy to see all of you, but y'all know we're extra happy to see her. So y'all give August a welcome. Thank you so much for putting those articles in there because I did not. Thank you. Okay, listen. This guy, I think that the school administrator or superintendent, I think he had actually gone to a meeting, and I don't want to lie on him. August might be able to tell you, or any of you who know the truth, but it seems like one of the pieces of information that I pulled, that he actually said he wasn't aware that any such thing like this had happened. And I'm sitting here like, what? The same kid did this twice, and you mean to tell me this was not on your radar? I mean, come on. Come on. And that poor man, her father, when he went to go speak to the school council, they literally had to take that man out of there. They wanted this whole thing shut down and wanted him shut up. This was his baby. This was his child. Who wants their babies to be handled in such a manner? There's a whole violation here. How could you? Listen, we know you don't look out for us. But for something like this, You didn't even look out for your own. Okay. And then you still get to get paid out no matter what. But I hope that he never gets hired anywhere else again, because if you sit there and cover something like that up, you are putting other children in danger. And again, this is why I need to personally understand, why aren't these considered floaters? They should not be considered. Whether or not this goes on a whole lot or no, we don't know, because of that school superintendent hiding that piece of information. Okay? It's a trip. So let's get into State Bill SB 132. Listen to this.
So you're putting sexual offenders or people that have done rapes and things like that in the women's prison if they decide to say they're female. Can you tell us more about that?
SB 132, I think, is what you're talking about. When you go to prison, in the past, you would be assigned a male or female facility based on your biological sex. This model has proven to be the safest way to incarcerate female prisoners. Obviously, men offend in sexually violent ways at orders of magnitude more than women, and so housing them together would be obviously a disaster. But SB 132 basically unwound those protections. Upon intake to prison, you declare what your gender is. The default is you're going to get placed based on what you've said as the inmate. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is a disproportionate number of folks who are applying for this who have crimes against women. There's nowhere to go. You're locked in a cell with this other person. There'll be more rapes, more pregnancy, biological males who've been housed with females. And so it will be a matter of time before there'll be homicides associated with this.
He looks like that big, gigantic guy. I think he used to play on the show Beauty and the Beast. And he's going to be in some movie called The Baker. And K. Judah, you can be so, I'm not going to address you right now. That's married. I remember him being married to a black lady. He looks like that guy. But can you imagine? He is already foreseeing the future. He can see the pregnancies that are forthcoming. He can see everything else that's forthcoming. And he also says he can see lives being taken because of situations like this. I heard one young lady, I heard her Princella say that they use penises, some men, like, what do you call them? Weapons. And I started thinking, even when I thought about, what is that guy that they had? Felice Johnson. Like, I'm now thinking, and I wasn't thinking about this before, that it's not just against the women that you may love. They are using this on each other. On each other. On each other. Now that I think about any prison story that you've ever seen, it's like, this is a way of dominating. I think that is absolutely horrible. And again, I have to ask, where is the brotherhood? But you claim to be sisters with the same women that you're ridiculing. And I don't understand that. How dare you? Okay. I want to go to WeSpa, Exhibit D. Let's look at this, okay?
WeSpa. So it's okay. I just want to be clear with you. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis around the other women, young little girls underage. Your spa, WeSpa, condone that. Is that what you're saying? Like I asked. It's so he could stay there. He could stay there. What sexual orientation? I see a dick. It lets me know he's a man. He's a man. He is a man. He is not no female. He is not a female. He is not a female. Hold on. He is not a female, sweetie. Okay? Girls down there, other women who are highly offended for what they just saw. And you did nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, you sided with him. So We Spa is in agreement with men that just say they are a woman and they can go down there with their penis and get into the women's section. Is that what you're saying? What really? What law? What law? So women can go into the men's with their breasts. Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't come back either. Yeah, get your money back. You got a man with his penis talking about he's a woman. He ain't no woman. Yeah, give her money back.
Are you talking about a transgender person?
There's no such thing as transgender. He has a dick. Okay? He has a penis. His penis is hanging out. Okay, no, I'm not one. Actually, I'm a woman who knows how to stand up and speak up for my right. As a woman, I have a right to feel comfortable without a man exposing himself, okay? No, you go somewhere else. Okay, so that's right. No, he's not a transgender. He has a penis, just like you do. Are you?
So I understand.
No. Yeah. Okay, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
Okay, that's traumatizing to see that. I'm a woman. I think this is a place right here, I'm told, only for women. So how dare you sit up here and tell me I don't have a right as a woman to defend?
If it's a transgender.
I'm telling you, he has a penis, a full and testicles. Okay, and I don't care what it's called. It's a man. You got one? You're a man. Okay.
And if we went into the men's section with our anatomy, that would be...
Well, it would probably, but you might not like women, so it might not, okay? And we don't know, but for me and for a lot of other women, they do not feel comfortable, and it's not okay. Okay? So, well, yeah, you're sorry. You should be, sweetie, and you're out of alignment, and this is not right. I can tell you that much, all right? And I know you're out of order. Yeah, it must be hard. It must be hard not being a real man, huh? Try it. So, like I said, I want every woman get all of their information.
The security guard just said that is not allowed.
Okay, well, I don't care what the security guard. He's just security.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Sometimes predators go down and will just go through the women's side.
Okay, well, no, he's sitting in there. Okay, well, security.
No. He doesn't want to be there.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying he should have not been allowed to.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. We know that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
No,
So,
we knew.
Homegirl was holding it down. Did I say down? Down. Okay. And you saw how they jumped in there. One of them, shut the F up. And then this guy, what is wrong with y'all again? We can see what's coming in the future. Okay? You all don't see it yet. Because soon, when you get these T labels as T-phobe, because you like a certain thing and they want to give you what they got, or crazy stuff starts happening to men, you're going to understand that. They're just sitting here thinking we're free for all until it's them. Okay? Until it's you. Right now it's okay because the ladies were being offended. But what did we later on find out? Let's find out what happened with this dude.
LA County DA's office has filed charges against the person accused of indecent exposure in a women's locker room at a Los Angeles spa. You may remember the incident back in June touched off protests outside the We Spa in Koreatown over transgender rights. Police identified the person involved as 52-year-old Darren Morager of Riverside County. Morager, who has been a registered sex offender since 2006, now faces 5 felony counts of indecent exposure. Morager, who claims to identify as a female, also faces charges from another locker room incident in 2018 and has a long criminal history.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content.
Thank you, Mark. And now back to the Oracle 007. Okay. This male has a long criminal record. I mean, and you caught on video explaining why it's okay that he could be there, and the others of you going up the stairs, go somewhere else, F off. And look, until they get you by themselves and nobody else is there and attack you, Then you'll find out. Then you'll find out, because right now you don't even begin to know how funny this ain't. And it doesn't even stop here. It doesn't even stop here. I started seeing, and again, I'm not a proponent of the LGBTQ, okay? But I have to tell you, I started seeing some stuff. Remember how Dave was explaining in the car that everybody likes the L's except for the G? This is what's going on with the L's. So the L's want to get the L out, okay, of the LG. I don't know if I'm saying it right. The Crayola people, they want to take the L out, and I'm gonna show you why. This is insanity on another level.
So can you sort of, in layman's terms, explain what's going on here?
Okay, in layman's term, lesbians are women who are sexually and, romantically attracted to other women. And we're talking about sex here, female to female. And what's going on is that we are receiving, a lot of us are receiving sexual pressure from men who have transitioned, who identify as women, who identify as lesbian. So to have sex with these men. Otherwise, we get called transphobic, TERFs, bigoted, Nazi, sometimes racist. This is pretty much what it is. It's called the cotton ceiling. I encourage everybody to have a little look on Twitter for screenshot of that. And it's happening a lot online. It's also happening in real life. We're talking about really quite a systematic cultural pressure. Stonewall is involved in this, the UN, LGBT Youth Scotland. I mean, recently all these organizations have been promoting the idea that male can be lesbians and that if you engage in lesbian sex, you can get pregnant. This is just not possible, right?
Yeah.
No.
Am I the only one? I remember when it seemed to me like if you were hetero, you were getting attacked when this was not, when the T's were not there. It was like everybody was upset. Like, you need to accept us, no matter what. And if you weren't into their lifestyle, then you were also calling H-phobe. Am I the only one that remembers that? If y'all remember that, you need to put a 1 in the chat, because I remember that. I'm so glad to see you. Listen, I'm glad to see all of y'all, but y'all have to forgive the names that I'm actually seeing that I call out. It's just love. I love all of y'all. Okay, Judah is questionable. Okay, but do you understand? Does anybody remember that? Am I the only one? Maybe you all are just like babies, but I remember this. Okay, and now look at what's happening. They are. I came across an article that was talking about what do you call it? That it said lesbian bars were having to shut down, and some people were saying that wasn't true. But then the people that I was listening to, when I tell y'all, I went down a long winding road to get all of the information that I have right now. The people that were saying that always turned out to be the T's. Okay, I had to go across the pond to get the information that people were actually telling the truth again, because I told y'all it's getting physical over there about this whole situation. I don't even know whether to be stunned, but this is when I say when people, I don't push my beliefs on anybody. Because if I did that, if you don't look at me, let's think about scripturally. The scripture said that people wanted to get next to or get to know the HaMashiach. They wanted to know the Messiah. That means, to me, he wasn't pushing himself on them, slapping around people, talking about, you're going to hell. What he did not like was what the money changers were doing. And we see that in the church now. And those people there should be, we should have a, what do you call that little thing that they have for the horses, a riding crop? You should have something like that for them, these prosperity preachers and stuff like that. But things like this, I mean, it's when nobody would just let us be. Just let me have my fantasies about, Morris Chestnut and Malcolm X, the Man Prince. Let me have those fantasies. I don't want to have your fantasy. I don't want to live your life. But then again, these things are coming back. When people would not let people live their lives. I can live my life and accept yours. I talked to a very wonderful sister and I appreciate her. And I have to say, I love how this young lady thinks. She just had a baby. She's married to a woman, gorgeous girl. And I have to ask her, what do you do when dudes walk up to you? You're over here being all fine and stuff, being, doing. And she said, yes, they try. She is a believer. And the scriptures, and she just had a baby. And she said that this baby grows up and decides that they do not believe in, the same, love on love relationship. She said, I cannot take that away from them. That's her belief. That's for her to deal with. And I love that. This is her child. But for people on the outside that you don't sleep in this bed. You don't sleep with me. Why do I have to accept it all? And now what's happening is these T's are turning around and they are doing that same thing to everybody. And again, we are back in the car, all of us. It ain't just, the LGBTQ, it's all of us up in this car. And I'm sitting here looking at what's going on. Nobody foresaw this. Look, let's listen to what I had to put this part in here for comic relief because this dude was acting like he didn't understand where she was coming from. And I like how she broke this down. This is the same lady. This is the Get the L Out co-founder. So, hold on.
Just full disclosure, where I'm at, I don't understand where the feminism is in this. I don't understand how we've managed to get to a situation as a society where someone like me can tell someone like you what it means to be a woman and who you should be attracted to. And I just literally don't understand that. Do you feel as though now that your sexual preference is essentially being used as I don't know, discrimination in some way?
Absolutely, absolutely. First of all, I want to say this because women understand what is going on with lesbians, and a lot of men have your response where it's a bit confusing. If you're a straight man and you date a person that you think is attractive, suddenly you get in bed that person has a penis. You might be a little bit confused. You might be a little bit challenged. You might not be happy. For lesbians, when this happens, it's a rape scenario.
Campaign, and I think the comparison there, if you were a straight man and you obviously, are dating or you go home with a woman, and then it turns out that actually that woman
was a man,
was the biological man. Of course, you have every right.
I think I'd probably say something.
Yeah,
you think you would say something. I heard our brothers over at the CUC. What's that statement, or what is they get this from? Biggie Smalls, there's going to be some furniture movement and whatever it is, Biggie Smalls, what is it? Flower bringing a slow sing. It's going to be something, okay? No. I'm not going to come home with Morris Chestnut and you Marcy. I'm not doing no. Nope. But anyway, I had to add that in. I bet he understood then. Okay. So not only this is again, gentlemen, your woman is out trying to enjoy the day because I heard some foolish commentary from people. I can't remember that one guy with his clownery. He didn't even know the whole story, which a number of them didn't. But Antoine Bell Pepper Nose Daniels, that was another one that got me. My wife would never be out at night. You don't never know what's going to happen on any given day that your woman has got to be out at night. If you get sick, something happens. There's an emergency that has to happen. So, that whole thing with Carlisha Hood, they had to find some way to blame her. But these are things that are happening in the day. You see how stupid that sounded? Okay, these are things that are happening in the day. Women just out trying to have a good old funky time. And things like this are happening, or you living your life, or you're away at college, or you're in school. You don't expect something like this to happen, these things to happen. Okay, and even here are these L's. They're just living their lives and they're being forced into this, or else they're going to be outed as being what you heard the lady say, TERF, trans exclusionary radical feminist. That's what that stands for. And did anybody else hear the fact that she said the United Nations was involved? Did y'all hear that? And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. Why is the United Nations involved in any of this? Did y'all hear that? If you didn't, I understand. But she actually said that. And I could not believe it was a thing. But now here's the situation where you're just playing sports. Guess what? Your daughter, your wife, you married to Flojo. Y'all know she was fly, okay? Here she is, or something like that, and she's getting scholarships. She's getting money. But guess what? Flojo has to run against the former Bruce Jenner, who has already gone through puberty and who is now Caitlyn Jenner, okay? I want you to hear Caitlyn Jenner said something very interesting to me when they mentioned that to add validity where they did not appreciate men being in women's sports or biological males that were now transitioning into females being in women's sports. Okay. He fought against, I think it was the NCAA, to stop Leah Thompson. You all seen that swimmer. And if you think about it, I was like, I need to find out what Leah Thompson's record was like before he started transitioning into a woman. And it said Leah's rank moved from 65th on the men's team to first on the women's team in the 500-yard freestyle. And his placement was at 554 on the men's team to fifth on the women's team in the 200-yard freestyle. Okay. And I have to appreciate Caitlyn Jenner for this, because one of the points that he made when I was listening to Sky News, and he said he is 72. He has been on hormone replacement therapy for 7 years. He was 6'2", but you also have to consider the fact that his age. Take that into consideration. He is now 6'1". I don't know if he was much taller than that now that I think about it. And he said whenever he hits the golf ball, she said whenever they hit the golf ball, that even with hormone therapy for 7 years, she can still hit it a distance beyond anybody else, any other woman, any woman at that. Okay. So I want you to hear what she has to say. So hold on.
Caitlyn Jenner is coming under fire for remarks she made about transgender athletes. Jenner, who transitioned after an Olympic gold medal career, says she doesn't think trans girls should be allowed to compete in female sports. Those comments are drawing fire as several states now try to ban trans girls from competing. Here's ABC's Zareen Shah.
Tonight, California gubernatorial hopeful Caitlyn Jenner giving this controversial statement to TMZ on trans legislation.
So there's legislation in various states to ban biological boys who are trans from playing girls' sports in school. What's your opinion on that?
Question of fairness. That's why I oppose biological boys who are trans competing in girls' sports in school. It just isn't fair. And we have to protect girls' sports in our school.
But it's a dramatic shift for Jenner, a transgender woman and advocate.
I also want to acknowledge all the young trans athletes who are out there, given the chance to play sports as who they really are.
Her latest comments coming as over 30 states consider banning trans athletes competing based on identity. Governors in 7 states have signed bills making it against the law for transgender girls to compete on a public school girls' sports team. Lawmakers arguing that transgender girls and women have an unfair advantage. In March 2020, Idaho's House Bill 500, dubbed the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, banned trans girls and women's ability to compete in female sports leagues.
It's about making sure that we preserve those opportunities.
ABC's Kana Whitworth spoke to Lindsay Hecox, who filed a lawsuit with the help of the ACLU and others. By August, the court placed a preliminary injunction against the law, meaning while the lawsuit is pending, the law itself cannot be enforced. Hecox stresses that she should have opportunities to play like anyone else.
Something about trans women athletes, they feel like it's going to be some huge, tall, muscular superstar. And I don't even think most of my teammates would even think of me as trans. I just look like a regular girl.
And Lindsay, tomorrow.
Lindsay, nobody cares what you look like. If you've gone through puberty, you are going to be stronger, faster, and more than a regular woman, unless you just decide to slow yourself down. I mean, you've now seen where I have addressed where I personally feel that these are dangerous. Positive, let me tell you, I don't care if Bell Pepper Nose is married or not. I do not like him at all. And quite frankly, he just strikes me as, whether he's married, I don't know if you're talking about Bell Pepper Nose or Felice Johnson. Ugh. Either way, I don't even understand everybody's fascination with Felice at all. I don't get it, but you know. And poor Yaquaba, I saw where you said y'all got to fight to keep people away. That's insanity. This is insanity. Like, let people live their lives. My thing is, a lot of this is a lot of the stuff that we're witnessing here is going over lanes. That's the problem. Your lane is coming into other people's lanes, and that's not right. Okay? Chris G, I certainly wish I knew who the lady at the concert was that you were talking about. I wish I knew. I want to know now because I was like, well, who was dancing up on top of this? Who was doing this? Okay, so after watching the Get Out the L co-founder, Angela Wiles, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't see how the L's and the G's are going to survive the expressions of the T's as indicated by Dave Chappelle. It's like I keep seeing this getting worse. I had an opportunity, if you have not, to watch What is a Woman. It confirmed for me quite a bit of my research, and it introduced me to some other individuals, like the following 2 doctors who were major players in this matter of this strange war. And we didn't even know we were having it. And it's like, if it had not been for these names being mentioned and their contributions, or what I would consider non-contributions, I don't believe I would have honestly found a contrary viewpoint with regard to them, because when I put in their names, the only thing I kept pulling up was, their organizations and things like that. And then finally, after a little bit of digging, I started finding these things. Okay. So when I asked earlier, where do these beliefs come from? I found out that apparently worldwide institutions decided to consider these unqualifying fraudulent beliefs of what I would consider psychotic stuff from these doctors. Okay. First up, you're going to see Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey. This guy was involved in a lot of inappropriate behaviors with children. I believe that the work that he was reporting, specifically when you hear people mentioning this table 34, he's stating that we all had these like kind of sexy feelings when we were infants. And I don't even understand how that's possible, but this is what he said. So he wrote a book on these types of behaviors of the human male, the human female. He also hated the Judeo-Christian belief system. So he received a tremendous amount of funding. For those of you very familiar with where that funding could have come through, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let you listen to this. I've had to break a lot of this down. Okay. He, in this table 34, the reason they found out his research was fraudulent was because he was using some prisoner's notebook that used to take liberties with children. That's my understanding of it. Okay. This is what it appears that he was getting that information from. So to me, this man sounds like another version, this male of Aleister Crowley. And for those of you, please write this down, who have not watched The Secrets of the Playboy Mansion on Hulu, I suggest that you do. This man was also a friend of Hugh Hefner, and he was equally as vile. Okay. Hugh Hefner was close friends with Bill Cosby and Don Cornelius and Jim Brown, and you're going to hear their names brought up. Okay. And that's The Secrets of the Playboy Mansion. It's on Hulu. So wait till you hear about these horrendous exploits. It is horrifying. So let's get into this. This is Dr. Judith Reisman on Dr. Kinsey.
And now joining us on Book TV on C-SPAN 2 is Dr. Judith Reisman. She is most recently the author of this book, Sexual Sabotage: How One Mad Scientist Unleashed a Plague of Corruption and Contagion on America. Dr. Reisman, who was this mad scientist that you're referring to?
Well, a lot of people really sort of know who he is by now, I'm happy to say, or unhappy to say, I don't know which, and that would be Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey, the founder of the Kinsey Institute, which is still alive and rushing along. He's not alive, he's gone to his reward. But it's still going on in Bloomington, Indiana, at the Indiana University, and gender reproduction, the Kinsey Institute, and he, yes, was a man who was involved in the sexual torture of hundreds of children in his own work. And I keep trying to say that is not a reliable scientist, but it's been a little difficult to get that across. The public didn't necessarily believe it, but a lot of the professors certainly did, and so it was picked up in universities all over the country, and from there it filtered down to every place.
Who funded his study?
Yes, well, the Rockefeller Foundation not only funded his study, but when he looked like he was getting in big trouble with Congress, they shifted the money from Kinsey directly into what they called the American Law Institute Model Penal Code, which is why I'm here in the law school, because our laws were gutted and were changed based on all these frauds and these lies. Well, he was a bi-homosexual. There's big argument which is which, but no argument. He was certainly a bizarre person. He was having sex with his students. He was having sex, making pornography up in his attic and in the university. He was engaged in so many bizarre things, including things that actually brought about orchitis, which was damage, massive damage to his lower nether regions, and he certainly was the major proponent of the idea that children are sexual from birth and that they can be unharmed by sex with adults.
Like, you can always depend on the Rockefellers to fund these things.
Yeah. And so they contacted me and asked me if they could translate my book, this book, into Chinese, as some kind of response to the fraud that was in the Kinsey research. By the way, remember, Liam Neeson appeared as Kinsey in a major feature film, Fox feature film, saying, he was this wonderful man who did all these good things for us. So, no, he's everywhere. The Swiss did a major documentary last year identifying Kinsey as the basis for their horrific sex education programs in Switzerland. And as I said, I just came back from the Philippines. He's involved in every aspect. Look, he's the guy who revolutionized sex for us and said you could do all these things with no downside. Well, okay, people, we have had some serious downsides. We have a Pentagon now. How many guys were were found using child pornography in the Pentagon. We have judges who've been picked up. We have presidents of universities. We have, coaches, in football coaches and so forth. And people are being told it was always like this. Well, I have news for you, people. It was not always like this.
Given that this happened in 1948, are there lasting effects to the Kinsey studies?
Huge. Absolutely huge. I had no idea when I started on this thing. I really didn't. I just copied off his charts and graphs with this little 2-month-old baby and with this little 5-year-old, and all these things were being done to these children and calling them orgasms around the clock, 24. I just copied them off and I sent it to my colleagues, as in the ethical field of science. And I thought, well, okay, I'll go do something else. They'll take care of it. And that was in 1980. So they didn't take care of it. And it took me years to figure out why. And it turned out that, yes, Kinsey's research became the foundation for major changes, every major change in our sex laws, and have gone through to today globally. I just came back from a global tour. Kinsey's everywhere. In China, indeed. And in Serbia, and in Switzerland, and in Sweden, and in Holland, the Netherlands, of course. So he has been a foundational change for the West worldwide.
When you say he's in China, what do you mean?
These things, the fact that these people would come up with something like this, who is giving their children over to this to allow this? Can you imagine? You already need to consider how your child is coming out of the womb. I've heard horrifying stories of doctors actually twisting the child, or something terrible has happened during the birth. And now we're going to hand over our baby for something like this to happen. This is Kinsey right here. Okay, I went and found a beautiful color photograph of him. This is him. Okay. If you're looking at, because remember, she said our laws regarding this matter were gutted because of his research, but they took it. They took it and they got it out all over the world. They funded this. Okay? So now the other person you're going to hear about is going to be John Money. He is the second person that we would consider a part of this abomination. And he believed in nature versus nurture. And it's going to be difficult. Please bear with this, because I felt like you needed to hear every part of this. Okay? If you choose not to, if you choose to come back, I understand, but I don't even know if I'm going to keep it up. But I wanted to make sure that I had this out here. Okay? This is a heartbreaking story. If you've ever heard the story about, you can write that down, the boy with no penis. The set of twins. This is heartbreaking. Parents who believed that they were dealing with experts after a terrifying ordeal. There was a set of twins who had their life pretty much thrown off balance by a machine malfunction. And this was over a circumcision that caused all of this. So this mad scientist's inability to accept that nature and nurture may actually work together interchangeably, but I believe that there's more than we could possibly imagine, because at the end of the day, in every sense of the word, this was a male child. Okay? And if you've ever seen Escape from Madagascar, in the case of Alex, any of you have children, you watch that cartoon, this animation, you will understand what I'm saying. It's like your nature, to me, although both of these things might work together, but your nature is actually going to win out.
So you mentioned John Money. Of course, this goes back to John Money. John Money introduced the idea of gender identity. He coined the term gender identity, and he said that the gender identity is completely separate from biology, and that it is something, it is one's identity as male or female, because back then, of course, we didn't have the non-binary and, in between all that, 47 different genders stuff. So in the 50s, when John Money was writing and speaking about all this, we had male and female. And his theory was that male and female is something that is foisted on a baby, a child, by society, and that it is unrelated to biology. He further said that men and women, males and females, have biological distinctions, but they are limited to menstruating, gestating, and lactating. And that was it. Aside from those three things, everything else in terms of personality and preferences for activities or, cognitive abilities, emotional styles, perceptions, that is all, it's a social construct, okay? It's all put on the child in the first 2.5 to 3 years of life. And then John Money said it's fixed. So, when you put the pink blanket on the little girl and the blue blanket on the boy, and then you give them the toys and you give them, you have certain expectations based on whether it's a boy or a girl. And all those things, the frilly dresses and the 50s was a time, of course, of stereotypes. So he spoke about it in terms of, the girl's going to be in the kitchen making cookies and the boy's going to be out, fixing the car with his dad. And he said, if you take a girl, with ambiguous, okay, I'm sorry, let me go back a minute. John Money's specialty, his interest was in hermaphrodites, okay? Very rare babies that are born with ambiguous genitalia. And those ambiguous genitalia are due to some congenital issue, either endocrinological or due to chromosomal abnormality. And the baby is born, they take a look at the genitals, it's just not clear what's going on. And that's where the term comes from. This is important. Assigned sex at birth. Assigned. Because in those cases, and these were the cases that John Money became an expert in, and he opened up a center specifically having to do with, his PhD that he wrote in the 50s was on the issue of sex assignment of hermaphrodites. What do you do? It's a crisis. You have to say we had a girl or we had a boy. And so what do you do in those cases? And he had a special interest in this. Now, you and I know that when someone has a certain interest in their life that consumes them to the point that they're writing their PhD about it, they're studying it, they make it their career, there's usually a reason behind it. And it's worthwhile exploring that reason. Now, when you look at John Money, and his early life, and he wrote about this, he was very open about it. He grew up under the hand of an abusive, alcoholic, out of control father who would beat him and his mother. So John Money, as a child, was not only beaten, but watched his mother being beaten. He no doubt had a terrible childhood, and that influenced his image of masculinity was this monstrous individual. And he wrote later on, he grew up on a farm, by the way, and he wrote later on in one of his books that he realized that the world might be better off if not only animals, but men were gelded at birth, castrated. Okay, so gelded is the word, used for animals. So he said that the world might be a better place if men were gelded. And he also wrote, he said, I wear the vile mark of male sexuality. And
this is John Money. I wanted you to hear what he had to say. And keep in mind, okay, behind him it's like, I think these people kind of love him, that they would put his face on this flag, or I don't actually know who did this. This is the trans flag. I had no idea that that's what that was. I thought it was like something for baby powder. But he's upset about the uniform that he is in. Unlike the previous guy that is touching and feeling up and having it with everything, he's over here upset being in his body. He actually took the Reimer twins, okay? Pulled them up, the Reimer twins. And he had them kind of assimilating acts on one another, because the one, his name was Bruce. Bruce had his penis pretty much annihilated when they put it in a cauterization machine so that he could have a, what do you call that thing? I can't believe it all of a sudden escaped me, when you're removing the foreskin, because something was going on with both of the boys' systems when he had circumcision. Okay, so his got burnt and was pretty much unusable. So the one thing that he had decided to do was to go ahead and create, as best as they could, female parts. However, there was nurture. They told the parents never to say anything, dress him up in dresses and all this other stuff. But the young man's life was pretty much stolen from him, because the parents are doing what they think is best. And you will hear his mother, if you pull them up and you see them on Oprah, saying that she couldn't afford to lose because she hated herself for what happened to her baby. He wasn't even given a chance. Both of those boys are no longer on the face of the earth right now. Their story is very sad, but that's who this guy used. And he said that he couldn't deal with the fact that his whole thing failed. But he said that it was a success, and nature overtook this young man. He did not like the dresses. Okay? He didn't like any of it. So all of that masculinity, all of that testosterone that overflowed in his body overtook him. He said he would still beat up his brother and all that other things that we think and we would say that boys do. He wanted to play with trucks. He was getting teased, and he always felt like he was out of his body, and he was. So when I'm saying there are certain situations I can understand that happen, there are certain situations that I can understand why. I could understand. I could understand why they were happening. All of these situations where your kids are just coming to you and be like, I feel like somebody else. I don't believe in all of that. So, because my thoughts are, we're all awkward. We're all going through puberty. We're all feeling, everybody's not feeling beautiful. Okay, but doggone it, after that, you talking about becoming a swan. That's what happens. And if we would just allow that, but what's happening is it's turning into something else. The kids are using it almost as a threat. even for divorcing parents, there's a father right now, I believe, that's in Canada. He can't even leave Canada because he did not want his daughter, I believe she was 15 at the time, to have this change in her body. He wanted her to wait until she was an adult, but the mom was pushing for it. So she went out, and he was considered as if he was out here trying to hurt his child. So they have him on lockdown. And that is pretty much what is the case going on here. But this, people, is John Money. If you're wanting to know why these little things are starting to happen in the United States and everywhere, don't you think it's odd? It's happening everywhere. These guys, Kinsey and John Money, are the reason why. Okay, so let's take one quick break, and not too much farther do we have to go with this, because y'all, it's not my intention, but it's like I'm really digging. I had to dig into this information. So again, I had to dig into this information because, again, I'm not coming against the T's community, the LGBT. I'm not coming against anybody. This is not what we do. We are actually here to make sure that our people are well informed, very well informed. Okay. I've got a couple of surgery regrets. As much as there is this thing is taking place, and I believe that they call it social contagion, and it is due to gender. I don't want to use the wrong word, gender dysmorphia or gender dysphoria, just meaning that you're not pleased with the body that you're in. And so what happens is when this happens, and please keep in mind, if you have children that are in school and somebody goes, I feel like a boy, or I feel like a girl, and they send them to they call them a gender affirming therapist. Now, I have listened to therapists as well that said that is not, we don't affirm nothing. We're not affirmists. They listen to your problems, and that's what they do. They don't affirm your gender or anything else. But now we have gender affirming therapists, and they will fast track your child making a mistake to say, I feel like a donut. I don't see any, but it's got to be a gender. So it's going to be, for people that are saying they're 47, it's going to be one of the two. Whether it's male to female or female to male. They get them on the fast track. If your child has not reached puberty yet, they put them on puberty blockers. And one of the main things that I'm constantly hearing about is something called, I want to say it's Lubron or something like that. I've heard it so much. It was in my head, and all of a sudden it's out just as fast as it came. Okay. But it is something that you need to consider. But these are two people that were, one of them was very much older, 42 years old, when this fell into her spirit to transition into male. This one, I believe, was 17, but I could understand because there was traumatic experiences that were going on, and it's hurtful. But I have to say, I'm feeling the red hair. I love it. So, hold on.
So I had to prove to the law that it was medically necessary for me to undergo that surgery. I had a surgeon. I feel like she was careless. She seemed great. She seemed sweet. I was naive. I was in desperation of a change. And, because I was conditioned, to believe that my body was just not good enough, or my body was not feminine, or my body was disgusting because I had a fucking dick between my legs, She did surgery and it was done, and she kind of like, that was that. She told me that I didn't need electrolysis. And that's one thing that's like every surgeon who performs a vaginoplasty requires that to be done, because if not, you can grow hair inside of you. And that's something that I've had to like struggle with, where it's like, not like massive, like, hair, but it would be like one hair, and then it would just create like just complications for me.
It says the problems did not stop there.
Dilating, having to keep my vagina open, all of that was just, it was torture. It was painful. It didn't feel good. Just these hard rods I had to keep open, and some of my vagina, the skin graft didn't take. So like, it sounds funny, but like, a part of my lip was hanging, and they had to cut it off. So then I was told that I had to go a size down in terms of like diameter, in terms of my dilation, and then I could move back up to, and I did that. I went to the smallest dilator, and, for like a couple days, and then it was so hard to just regain that depth back. And then I just started to close up, and it was painful, like to the point of like I thought I was going to faint sometimes when I would put it inside me. It was just so painful. It hurt so much. So eventually I gave up, and I was depressed. It had me very depressed because I lost all this depth, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm not dilating. I'm not doing this shit. Like, I guess I'm going to be a human Barbie with a fucking non-working vagina. My vagina closed. And
I don't know how that guy is not passing out, okay? Because for those of us who were born with it, we don't have to do any of that, like, because it's supposed to be there. But to have to hear, I'm trying to imagine, and I don't want to, a place on the body where you have to put a dilator in for a place where an entry, a hole or something is not supposed to be there, to keep it from closing up. And I heard the same thing with Jazz. I don't know what his last name was. And thank you, Positive Blue Prawn. That's the name of what they're using, and they call it a puberty blocker. But this thing is, like, I think, from what I can understand, medical castrating as well, because it's my understanding, it's only my understanding, that they actually give this to people who will ingratiate themselves with children, amongst, I guess, other things. I think they use it also for prostate cancer or something like that. But I don't see how the guy next to her is not passing out, because this to me, this looks like a girl.
it made me feel less kind of a woman in a way for a man. Like, gay men don't date me. They don't, that's not like straight men who like women, they're attracted to me, so those are the kind of men I entertain, whatever. And like my ex, there was a lot of times where he was like, oh, please, baby, like, you need to get that open, like, because we will have anal sex, and it was great and all, but he was well endowed, and like, for me to do that every day, like, he was a very sexual person. He wanted to have sex a lot. It was very performative. I would do it for him, but I didn't enjoy it. Like, there was times where I'll cry, like, afterwards. I was just frustrated because I'm like, damn, I'm all this woman, and physically, like, I have this part, but I can't even, like, utilize it.
Now looking back, if you had the chance to rewind time, would you have still gotten the surgery?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would have not. The reason why I want to get a second surgery is because I can't go back. Just, the path that I chose out of ignorance, and, I was a bit naive. But that's why I think it's important to be transparent about it, because I think that a lot of trans girls that do undergo that surgery, they kind of like pretend like, oh yeah, my pussy's this, it's so this, and it's so that, and whatever. And it can be, but
she said the truth needed to be told, and they felt like they needed to do that. So I could appreciate this male to female, because there was truth being told here. This, where I had been seeing, I did see some other people that were like, this has been wonderful for me, but I saw a majority of these that I would have not done this, because they lost some things, you know, in their minds. So, and yes, Skeletor fan, I have to agree that I've watched it so much. It's like, oh my God, it was heart wrenching. But this guy, Scott Nugent, these are people that you want to talk about immediately. And I have to tell y'all that regardless if it was a T-man or a T-woman, some of these were very happy with the results, and I said that, but I personally ran into a majority, as I stated previously. They kept talking about bottom surgery. And so every time I kept hearing bottom surgery, I'm like, are you like, is this Mr. Thomas? Like, y'all, anybody watch the Chronicles of Narnia? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Like, I love that movie. I love that movie. I seem like I vaguely remember reading that book as well. But that, and if it wasn't Mr. Thomas, I'm going to tell you what I saw mainly. I want you to pay attention to this. This is what I mainly saw. The bottom and the top were still different. It didn't even matter if it was the mind. I was like, are you, does anybody not feel the Baphomet? So the bottom from the tops, the goat face, the human torso, the goat bottom. And I always wondered, why was that? So it just turned into more questions for me. And then after I found out about those two doctors, Dr. Money and Dr. whatever his name was, Dr. Money and that doctor, it's like they didn't care. They were just out here just doing this stuff. Here was radical, but that lady, Dr. Judith, was saying that they referred to him as being conservative. Conservative, of all things. You're putting your fingers on children, and somebody is referring to you as conservative. And I'm talking about Dr. Kinsey. It was, and I'm sitting here going, let's really think about this here. Think about what's going on. There's a reason why I felt like I kept seeing that. Okay, different bottoms from the tops, the statue, and I want you to look at the statue, because somebody actually had a thing for it where it was telling you why. The hand placements and what was on it, like it's got fish scales and all that other stuff on there. There are many statues of the Baphomet symbol, but the one I always take notice to is the one with the children, because if you'll notice, to the right is a little white female, and to the left is a little black boy. Look at the hair. Okay. That was one thing that I began to notice. I remember even watching Thoughts, Camera, Action, and he brought that out. And I was like, why is that? You notice the right hand is the one with the white female child, and the hand of the statue is in the upward position, and it reads solve, meaning like to dissolve. But the hand up is in the symbol as above, so below. You ever hear people saying that? So that's the part that says as above. But if you look at the left hand, the one that's over the black male child, written on that arm is coagulate. That, I don't see where that's good. Like where your blood thickens and it coagulates, but the hand down symbol appears to indicate so below. And I thought this was striking. If something like this was in a satanic temple or something on display before the earth. I can even recall one woman calling into a call-in show stating how she found white females and black males to be the same people because of how she felt they were dealing harshly with black women. And I'm sitting here looking at, wow, this statue is speaking. While the black male is still considered as on the bottom. It's interesting when I consider, I have heard people talking about how they put spells on us, on black people, and things that they say out in the open. And you're thinking about coagulation as a hardening or thickening, specifically in blood. And I had to go back to the story of Hamlet, where his uncle, having a desire for his brother's wife, because his brother was the king. That was Hamlet's father. If you have not ever seen that or read it, Hamlet's mother, he wanted her. And so he poured poison into the ear of his brother, causing the blood to coagulate. I never forget that. And that's how he took Hamlet's father's life. And I believe he became the king. Now, I just saw that this is a very interesting dynamic. And I'm wondering kind of if it holds weight in comparison to what we're seeing right before our very eyes, because it's even now, it's strange to me to kind of look at the fact that a lot of our people no longer believe. They see what other people see and consider our beliefs as fairy tale. Okay, even though the scriptures that we read are actually speaking of prophecies and things, if they're not happening, they are to come. So, and as far as Mr. Tumnus from the Chronicles of Narnia goes, I inquired as to why, I inquired to what he was when I had pulled this up on Google, and the following came up. It says, Tumnus is a faun, a creature that is human from the waist up and goat from the waist down. We want to make one thing perfectly clear, that as a faun, Mr. Tumnus is a peaceful woodland dweller, not a crazed S3X maniac like a satyr. And I'm sitting here going, what? Take a pause. Now, you know, my mind went back to, okay, is this why the very creature that is listed, that we see as Baphomet, is he the S3X crazed satyr as a satyr? Because at the bottom, I'm asking because I often think about the bottom surgery for the T's and the S3X creature. All of this is about the gender and all that other good stuff. Think about what I'm saying. I mean, I could be reaching. If you feel like I'm reaching, I understand that. And it even after that, it's like it almost zeroes it out, because some of them have an inability to adjust. It seemed like it would make it more difficult, but then it goes back to John Money's theory. I don't want to say theory, but how he felt even in his own body when he said that people like humans, but people like animals should be gilded. And when they said gilded meant castrated. And I'm wondering, because my thoughts are, what is the end game in doing all of this? Because the truth is, if you turn if the women decide to become men and men decide to become women, and they all, either way, then there's no LGBT or LGB. I don't know. These are my thoughts. If you all feel like I'm reaching, my mind is just going, but I'm sitting here going, again, it seems like it would cancel it all out, because everybody's not having the best experience with this whole thing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, this guy right here is going to also speak some truth. This, if you ever pull up Scott, can't remember Scott's last name, Scott Nugent. Scott is going to be spitting you some truth. Scott, actually, to me, when I saw what he looked like as a woman, was gorgeous. And I'm kind of shocked, but I want you to hear his story.
Thank you so much for joining me. I mean, I came across you, found you on Twitter and all the other things, and your message really resonated with me. And I feel that it's something that we need to share with people So they understand that somebody who's 42 got caught into this, that the damage they're doing to the children. But tell me a little bit about your story.
Well, my story is not unlike most stories. At 42, I was kind of in a vulnerable place. I have always been kind of a dominant person in everything that I've ever done. And I was married to a woman that used to say over the years, you know, you do that just like a man. You were born in the wrong body. Or my sister would say, you know what, you're the perfect husband. Although I didn't look or I wasn't butch, I had that really dominant personality. And I came to a vulnerable place in my life, you know, watching Jazz Jennings and all that kind of stuff. And casually I said, God, I wonder if I'm born in the wrong body.
Why is a 42-year-old, you know, why are you thinking like this? And again, this is where we're coming into when people are talking about the things that are going on. When things that are going on, they call it social contagion. And it made me think about that movie, Social Dilemma. 42, and it captures you.
Worrying about that moment is that a lot of young people are sort of saying, oh, well, maybe I'm in the wrong body, and they're young. So they may be teenagers, they may be, you know, prepubescent, and they're going through that. And then adults are kind of verifying and sort of giving them the feeling that maybe they are, and then starting the process. So this started you on a process.
God, within a couple of weeks, I was on hormones, and the doctor said something to me that I probably should have paid attention to, but I was in that idea that, hey, I get to fit, you know, I don't have to be a lesbian. The doctor told me that, hey, we really don't know how much hormones to give you. We don't know. It's never been studied. We do have to give you massive amounts to kind of basically turn down your estrogen and then turn up your testosterone so you have a testosterone-driven body. So we're not giving kids just a little bit of testosterone. I mean, they have to give like 3 times more to kids that are suicidal. And it just keeps going down from there. So you said in the beginning that I almost died for medical transition, and I did. And it puts me in a very, very different situation with the fact that I have 3 kids that are at the age that these children are thinking that they're transgender, on top of doing it, on top of researching it, and trying to save my own life. There are only 7 studies that say the medicalization of children is beneficial, and every single one of them has been retracted with, oops, we're sorry, doesn't work, or not enough time to say if it's beneficial or not. Now, we do have one long-term study, and that study tells us that us trans are most suicidal, not before, after 7 to 10 years, because it's a process, right? You get that, oh, I get to fit in, and then when you get to the done, and you don't have anything else to do, you kind of look left and right and go, well, that didn't help. And then you have to go, hey, I still have to work on the inside. And that's why these kids are so insistent. It's because they are different. And that's what I would tell parents. Any child that says that they're transgender, first of all, transgender is cosmetic surgery. It doesn't fix anything. All the studies say it makes mental health worse. The health complications are they're astronomical. They're finding that girls' spines aren't fusing together, early onset osteoporosis, for a process that actually makes mental health worse. Until I had a bottom surgery. And the bottom surgery, basically after that surgery that I now know I should have never gotten because I have blood issues, I had a pulmonary embolism that induced a stress heart attack in the state of Texas, by the way. And after that, I found out that I had a ligament sticking through my arm. I have an infection in this, side where they put that tube in. He says, oh, you're great. I'm in an ambulance 2 days later with sepsis. Then I started to feel better. And then I started to feel like hell. And nobody could help me. I lost my insurance. My transgender surgeon in Texas, he had 9 medical malpractice cases against him in California, banned from conducting surgery in San Francisco, moves to Texas where they have a tort reform act and our governor takes millions from gender clinics. And that reoccurring infection got so bad that I lost everything. That's how I lost everything. How I know it's experimental is because I had to figure out what was wrong with me first. Oh, it's experimental. And they found that I had 6 inches of hair on the inside of my urethra. So that caused a 17-month infection. Towards the end, I was still working so I could get insurance because I didn't have insurance. Nobody would help me with it. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
when I tell you, it hurts me every time I hear him say, I had 6 inches of hair, and I'm like, there are just some things in my mind that are not supposed to be. Okay? I don't see how people don't pass out. It makes you want to pass out. It makes you want to grab yourself. I mean, and I'm just being honest. I'm being honest. And I appreciate Scott for being honest with regard to this matter. It's nobody is thinking, and thank you. I had to, I'm laughing between positive and um, positive and Skeletor because the truth of the matter is, I have to agree with you. Okay, yes, Satan is doing the whispering. There was something else that Skeletor had said previously, and it sounds like you all are kind of familiar with this, but thank you so much with positive. Thank you for saying that they have no real regulation on children, because I'm wondering again, you all are having these surgeries. You're just allowing this. And I don't get why nobody is stopping. And I have to, Scott is having to travel to the UK in order to be able to speak. Your mouths here, I don't care who says this nation is free. You're free to say whatever you want to. Um, we can see this not, you can't even, if you can't play music on your channel, you have to find words to dance around saying lives are being taken or all this other stuff, or you put yourself to sleep. It's kind of, you really have, your freedoms are very limited. And for everybody that allowed our freedom to be very limited, you are also now starting to experience what it's like having your freedoms be limited. So Scott has just told you that he's talked about the maintenance, but listen.
In terms of maintaining this whole thing, is there a lot of maintenance in it? Because people think you've had the surgery, now you can just go away.
As far as the surgeries, the bottom surgeries, they're notorious for bladder infections. They do become life-saving after antibiotics don't work anymore. So reoccurring bladder infections are one. Heart issues, lung issues. You have to be on synthetic hormones if you have a full, complete 100% transition. So there are enormous amounts of health issues for a process that makes mental health worse. It's like I said, I'm on candid camera. I'm waiting for him to pop out anytime.
Has it shortened your life? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely it has. Testosterone and cross-sex hormones actually shorten your life 10 to 15%. That's a fact. But I have congestive heart failure from my heart attack. I have, lung damage. I get reoccurring infections still. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to be here very long.
Do you wish you hadn't done it?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, medical transition doesn't fix anything. And unfortunately, people don't realize that. And the people with true gender dysphoria, which is a serious mental illness, those are the ones that are killing themselves at 7 to 10 years, because those are the people that are being medically transitioned for a delusion. It's the people that know it's cosmetic surgery that do halfway decent.
I don't even know what else to say. So anyway, he is pretty much on a blitz getting to, I think he said he just got a job offer. He's accepting it. This is something. So the majority of the interviews, a lot of the stuff that I watch, it was just a bunch of angry M to F or male to female. They didn't want nothing said. Everything went fine for them. But a lot of these people are coming out and at least having the opportunity to tell their own truth. It doesn't have to be the truth as a whole, but they are having an opportunity to actually speak. This is disheartening. Neither one of these people were detransitioning, but this young lady, the House Committee on Judiciary or House Judiciary Committee just spoke on this, and they spoke to one of the main poster children for detransitioning, and her name is Chloe Cole.
My name is Chloe Cole. and I am a detransitioner. Another way to put that would be, I used to believe that I was born in the wrong body, and the adults in my life whom I trusted affirmed my belief, and this caused me lifelong, irreversible harm. I speak to you today as a victim of one of the biggest medical scandals in the history of the United States of America. I speak to you in the hope that you will have the courage to bring the scandal to an end and ensure that other vulnerable teenagers, children, and young adults don't go through what I went through. At the age of 12, I began to experience what my medical team would later diagnose as gender dysphoria. I was well into an early puberty, and I was very uncomfortable with the changes that were happening to my body. I was intimidated by male attention, and when I told my parents that I felt like a boy, in retrospect, all I meant was that I hated puberty, that I wanted this newfound sexual attention to go away, that I looked up to my brothers a little bit more than I did to my sisters. I came out as transgender in a letter I sent on the dining room table. My parents were immediately concerned. They felt like they needed to get outside help from medical professionals, but this proved to be a mistake. It immediately set our entire family down a path of ideologically motivated deceit and coercion. The gender specialist I was taken to see told my parents that I needed to be put on puberty-blocking drugs right away. They asked my parents a simple question: would you rather have a dead daughter or a living transgender son? The choice was enough for my parents to let their guard down, and in retrospect, I can't blame them. This was the moment that we all became victims of so-called gender-affirming care. I was fast-tracked onto puberty blockers and then testosterone. The resulting menopausal-like hot flashes made focusing on school impossible. I still get joint pains and weird pops in my back, but they were far worse when I was on the blockers. A month later, when I was 13, I had my first testosterone injection. This caused permanent changes to my body. My voice will forever be deeper, my jawline sharper, my nose longer, my bone structure permanently masculinized, my Adam's apple more prominent, my fertility unknown. I look in the mirror sometimes and I feel like a monster. I had a double mastectomy at 15. They tested my amputated breast for cancer. And I was cancer-free, of course. I was perfectly healthy. There was nothing wrong with my still developing body or my breasts, other than that, as an insecure teenage girl, I felt awkward about it. After my breasts were taken away from me, the tissue was incinerated. Before I was able to legally drive, I had a huge part of my future womanhood taken from me. I will never be able to breastfeed. I struggle to look at myself in the mirror at times. I still struggle to this day with sexual dysfunction. And I have massive scars across my chest. And the skin grafts that they took of my nipples are weeping fluid today. And they were grafted into a more masculine positioning, they said. After surgery, my grades in school plummeted. Everything that I went through did nothing to address my underlying mental health issues that I had. And my doctors, with their theories on gender, thought that all my problems would go away as soon as I was surgically transformed into something that vaguely resembled a boy. Their theories were wrong. The drugs and surgeries changed my body, but they did not and could not change the basic reality that I am and forever will be a female. When my specialist first told my parents that they could have a dead daughter or a live transgender son, I wasn't suicidal. I was a happy child who struggled because she was different. However, at 16, after my surgery, I did become suicidal. I'm doing better now, but my parents almost got the dead daughter promised to them by my doctors. My doctors had almost created the very nightmare they said they were trying to avoid. So what message do I want to bring to American teenagers and their families? I didn't need to be lied to. I needed compassion. I needed to be loved. I needed to be given therapy to help me work through my issues, not affirm to my delusion that by transforming into a boy, it would solve all my problems. We need to stop telling 12-year-olds that they were born wrong, that they are right to reject their own bodies and feel uncomfortable with their own skin. We need to stop telling children that puberty is an option, that they can choose what kind of puberty they will go through, just so they can choose what clothes to wear or what music to listen to. Puberty is a rite of passage to adulthood, not a disease to be mitigated. Today, I should be at home with my family celebrating my 19th birthday, and instead I'm making a desperate plea to my elected representatives. Learn the lessons from other medical scandals like the opioid crisis. To recognize that doctors are human too, and sometimes they are wrong. My childhood was ruined along with thousands of detransitioners that I know through our networks. This needs to stop. You alone can stop it. Enough children have already been victimized by this barbaric pseudoscience. Please let me be your final warning. Thank you.
Listen, and I see you all actually addressing, blaming the parents. I'm telling you, the guy in Canada, he couldn't say anything. The only people, and there was a doctor. If you all have not gone on Twitter, we all may not be Matt Walsh fans, okay? But if you have not gone on Twitter to watch what is a woman, I'm telling you, this, I had already started researching when I found out this thing was out here. And I think it's been out there for some time. So I just watched it. Okay. Confirming a whole lot of stuff. I want to say initially I was on the same boat with blame the parents. However, keep in mind, your child is in the public school system. Guess what? Let them I feel like a boy. I want to do what the boys are doing. I'm telling you, they will have your child somewhere up in somebody's office being gender affirmed. And there were some places that I have more information than this, and I'm not even presenting it to you. Pull up her story. She has been so embarrassed at the fact that she even brought this to her parents, and the fact that she's suffering for it now. Because now what everybody is telling you is your child has the right to do whatever they want to do. Even if you're watching What is a Woman, you are going to hear the pediatrician. One of them is going to say, these kids know, but they said this is the same person that believes in Santa Claus. Well, to them, it's real. And that was it. And guess what? Your child goes along their merry way. Despite, and my thoughts are, well, great. Why don't we just give children the keys and they can get on Atlanta Interstate 285 or 85, drive as fast as they want to, and then we'll take them to the bar and we'll all guzzle down some alcohol. It's like, why even get in trouble? Why even get in trouble for anything? So you're locking parents up because the kids have, drugs in their system. Why? You're allowing them to do this because you said they know themselves better than anybody else. That lady's voice got on my nerve. Okay? She was talking to Matt as if she was talking to a 2-year-old. And you know how we do. We shouldn't even be talking to them like that anyway. But that's how she was talking. So your child goes into the school and decides, they want to play with trucks or something. Kids just do what kids do. And there's a possibility of this happening. And what I am witnessing is all of these right. The parents have no rights. Once the child said, yes, this is what I want, or guess what? Your child is mad with you. You can forget about it. You can forget about it. You can forget about it. I'm so glad that I did not raise my child in this particular time frame. This is insanity to me. I would be nervous about having a child in the schools, and they are doing it. Some of the information that I was able to gather, the child has gone down from 16 to 13 to 12, and I believe now it's at 8 years old. Did you hear me? And just in case, I'm going to say it a little louder for the people in the back. 8 years old. The puberty blockers. And we're almost done.
Can you just reemphasize one of the points? Puberty just can't stop like it's a movie, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It's a healthy process in the human body. And as you heard from Scott Nugent, who's the that's a trans, a woman who transitioned to a male, although she says in the film, she's one of the only honest people we talk to, and she says, I transitioned to appear like a man, but I'll never be a man. Anyway, as we hear from her, that there are no studies that have been done on this whatsoever. We've never had a generation of kids that has had this done to them. Like, they're lab rats. So we're just kind of trying this out on a whole generation of kids. But based on what we do know, we know that these are serious drugs. A little bit later in that same interaction, we talk about what the actual drug is. The actual puberty blocking drug is Lupron. That's what it's called. And it is used off-label to, quote, block puberty. It is actually a cancer drug for prostate cancer that you give to adult men. And at a certain point, they realized it had chemical castration properties, so they started giving it to sex offenders to chemically castrate pedophiles. And now we give it to 12-year-old boys. And I asked that pediatrician about that, said, Lupron, that's chemical castration. And that's when she said she wanted to get up and the interview was going to be over. She didn't want to talk about it, but it's absolutely true. And this is what we're doing, not just to a couple of kids, but to thousands, millions of kids.
Yeah, so that the question is also, how widespread is this, right? We know the pharmaceutical industry has done such damage to our country, especially over the last couple of years. I mean, you want to look at kind of one of the major enlightenments is how people don't trust Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna anymore after the damage they've done. But this is an interesting wrinkle where people don't realize it's not just the pharmaceutical companies that are pushing antidepressants on you unnecessarily. And by the way, they might make your depression and anxiety worse, just so we're clear. So be very careful before you go on benzodiazepines or Prozac or Xanax. But it's not just that, but the pharmaceutical industry is involved in this trans issue. There's billions of dollars to be made in new FDA-approved puberty blockers, and then with it, the benzodiazepines and these other drugs that could also accompany it. Talk about the pharmaceutical profit motive involved in a lot of this.
Well, as you just said, billions of dollars. And anytime there's billions of dollars involved, then we know that that's reason enough for skepticism. When it comes to chemically castrating kids, that should be the entire reason that you need to be skeptical of it. But there are people that are making billions of dollars, and it's not just the pharmaceutical industry. This goes to therapists. You know, there are therapists that used to just be regular old therapists, and then they realize that the real money is in the gender affirming game. And that's where you can really make the money. That's where you can find all the clients. And so this is all they do now, is they do gender affirming care. And then there are, you know, endocrinologists who this is all they do now, is give out the hormone blockers and everything. There are people who have realized in therapy, psychiatric industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry generally, that there is lots of money to be made here. And so they have no incentive. You know, if you've got a 5-year-old boy who has now had this gender confusion foisted on him, there's no profit incentive in helping that child overcome the confusion and just live as a boy. I mean, that boy, there's a dollar sign over his head. That boy is worth millions of dollars in the long run to lots of very powerful industries.
Millions of dollars, that one boy. Because if you'll remember, you heard it from the grown man, woman, Scott Nugent, constantly at the doctor, over $1 million. And then they couldn't help. And then they lost their insurance. Nobody can help. And then you heard it from Cole. Okay? You heard where she said she's now got problems. And don't forget, like, girls' spinal cords are not even like coming together anymore. They are coming up with more medical mishaps and problems than anybody else. This is a major money maker in so many ways. It's almost like, I don't know, it just looks like everybody's kind of, we're going to throw you in the pot, see what works. It's scary to me. I took one for the team, okay? I even sat there and watched one of these operations from male to female. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm sitting here going, I don't understand how anybody's able to feel anything, but that is another thing. A lot of these kids, and I heard them say that about Jazz, what is their name? Jazz Jennings? I don't know. I never watched that show. It's something about that kid I just didn't like. But they're saying that this child now has the body of like a 60-year-old woman, and it doesn't even know, I guess, what it's like to have that sensual feeling. And I'm hearing that quite a bit. I'm sitting here like, what was the purpose of all of this? What was the purpose? And again, it takes me back to John Money, feeling like everybody kind of needs to be gilded. This guy had something smart to say. I didn't care for him, but it was kind of wise because I sat there and watched.
I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Hunt.
I watched that whole judiciary meeting, but this was funny because it made sense for what they were doing to children, for what they were allowing.
Back, the chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, brave ladies, for being here today. I greatly appreciate it, and I admire your bravery in these times. Many of my colleagues on the left like to discuss gender-affirming care and claim that puberty blockers and hormone therapy and sex reassignment surgery are the only ways to treat gender dysphoria. Once a child expresses a feeling of gender dysphoria, instead of questioning the root cause of that feeling, that child will more likely than not be on a fast track to gender reassignment surgery, or otherwise known as genital mutilation. But I want you to imagine something. What would happen if we affirmed every thought that our children have? I'd like to show you a food pyramid. Now I know what you're thinking. This is not the FDA's approved food pyramid, although many of you probably wish it was. This is the food pyramid according to my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old daughters. And by the way, in the Hunt house, we don't do Ben & Jerry's. It's Bluebell only. If my children had their way, they would have ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and for every single meal in between. Oh, the wisdom of children. But in a sane country, we know that children are mature enough to make adult decisions that will impact the rest of their lives. That's why we have parents. Children cry for ice cream, but as parents, we have the wisdom to know that ice cream is not in their best interest, particularly their long-term interest. I want to thank my parents, Willie and Diane Hunt. They had 3 children. All 3 of us went to West Point. All 3 of us served our country. All 3 of us earned multiple master's degrees from Ivy League schools. Do you know why? Because my parents did not give in to the thoughts of an adolescent Wesley Hunt. I am a United States congressman because my parents didn't listen to me when I was 8 years old. They raised us. They cared for us. They taught us the ways of being successful people. As an adult, you could do whatever you want with your body and with your own money. You're mature, you're fully grown, you can make adult decisions. I'm a combat veteran. I fought for the right for you as an adult to make your own decisions, but in my opinion, children are a different story. It is our obligation to protect them. When it comes to gender dysphoria in children, many in the American medical establishment have absolutely lost their minds. A child will tell their parent they have thoughts of gender dysphoria, and the parent may take that child to a doctor. But the doctor, instead of questioning the root cause of the dysphoria, will instead affirm the child's thoughts and proceed with gender-affirming care. But as many as my colleagues on the left want you to believe, there isn't widespread agreement on how to treat gender dysphoria. I can assure you that child mutilation is not the answer. In fact, in Finland, Sweden, France, Norway, and the UK are reversing course and asking questions. In the UK, their only national gender clinic for children shut down last year by court order. What do their doctors know that our doctors don't? I'm sorry we're here right now. I'm sorry, Ms. Cole. We failed you. Ms. Scanlon, my daughters are going to watch this because you have become their new hero, and I can assure you that my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old daughters will not change in front of biological men. This is ridiculous. I don't care what party you are a part of. If you think that we are all equal and the same biologically, you've literally lost your mind. And when my two daughters work hard in the sport, work hard in their craft to be the best that they can be amongst other women, they will compete against other women. I owe Victoria and Olivia and every other young lady in this country that. If you think I'm wrong, I am not the problem. I can assure you. We have an opportunity in this country to get this right in 2024 so we could stop all of this foolishness. But I cannot thank you ladies enough for bringing this up. I apologize that we live in America where this is happening. But thank God for the American spirit fire, and thank God for brave women like you, because it's brave women like you that are going to turn the tide so that future women won't have to suffer in the same way that you have. God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. I yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. The chair next recognizes the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to quote Judge Moody from Arkansas.
You saw that food chart for everybody that's enjoying this. Thank you. I am going to bring it to a halt shortly because I wanted to make sure, again, I was fair in my assessment for me personally to all of the communities that are involved. I have to say that whole piece by that Sketch and Sound had done as it pertained to how his mind saw what Dave Chappelle was saying about this car ride. And again, I think everybody kind of forgot that the rest of us are on this car ride as well. And now the children are also in this car ride. You see what I'm saying? So I wish all of that had been configured because nobody saw it. It was cute and funny with how he wrote it, but it is actually come to fruition. This is something that I'm glad that you all enjoyed this, but I wanted to be fair when I said I was going to be fair because there were certain circumstances that I could understand what was happening with why some people felt like they needed this. I understand even when I heard what was a woman and now is a man. I'm thinking it was Stewart. I can't believe Scott Nugent. I don't know why I want to call her Stewart. Okay. I understood when I heard Miss Cole. And what happened, again, social contagion. If you have not seen that documentary, A Social Dilemma, it happens. It happens to how information is fed to you. Okay? But this was the health situation. And again, I'm not a health professional. And I also did not get my talking points from K. Judah. But this was actually a situation that was more understandable. 7 minutes. I need to make sure that there's a clear understanding because we do not, we're not standing against anyone. We're just seeking better understanding. So listen to this story of Tula. This was actually a Bond girl, if you have not seen this before.
And I'm Penny Daniels, and this is Inside Report. She is one of the most stunning women in the world, a virtual goddess with a shape that could stop traffic. Tula's incredible torso has been seen in countless magazines and even with James Bond in the movies. But England's sight for sore eyes is not quite all she appears. Beneath that beauty lies a shocking secret and a past that is filled with illusion. Tula's story is a dark tale of deception, crushing disappointment, and lost love. Inside Report's Dan Housley has the incredible story of Tula, Great Britain's mysterious bombshell, who proves that seeing may not always be worth believing.
Sexy, sultry, and smoldering. Tantalizing Tula had it all. A body that could stop Big Ben, a husband worth millions, and a career on the fast track. But Tula also had a secret from her past which would shock the world. Tula, all 37, 25, 37 of her, all 6 feet of luscious ladyhood, was born a boy.
And my family, you know, thought I was slightly effeminate, and my dad and brother hoped I'd grow out of it. I realized there was something different when I had my sexual feelings at 13, and they were towards another boy, so...
But Barry Cossey wasn't a homosexual. Hormone tests eventually proved he was a girl, trapped in a boy's body.
I had this desire to dress as a girl and wear makeup and try to look as pretty as possible, and it was a great turn-on for me to be flattered by a heterosexual male.
Even his sister knew the boy the other kids called Sissy Cossey was special.
I just shared so much with her, my dolls, the dressing up, you know. I mean, it was lovely because she was so soft. And I think she was a lot softer than me in many ways, and maybe more feminine too, because she used to be like my big sister, giving me advice, and she always has been, really.
But a miserable life of childhood taunts would force Barry away from the family he loved, away from the small British town where he grew up, to London to live as a transvestite, and finally to undergo gender reassignment surgery. 21-year-old Barry, the second son of an English factory worker, soon became Carolyn.
I felt completely complete. You know, I had an inner peace. I could actually look at myself in the mirror and feel my external was the same as my internal feelings. So I was very happy at that point.
Carolyn's life blossomed. The sex change launched a modeling career and prompted a name change to Tula. And in 1981, Tula became one of the women of Bond. James Bond, that is. Tula appeared with Roger Moore in the film For Your Eyes Only. Soon, Playboy readers would also drool over tempting Tula in a picture spread from the same flick. For 7 years, Tula was hot, adored, in demand. But almost overnight, her world would collapse.
I had the press following me because, you know, once you start getting successful, the press here tends to delve around in your background looking for little skeletons, and they found one.
Discovering Tula's well-kept secret tickled the public's fancy, but it also rubbed employers the wrong way. The movie offers and modeling assignments quickly dried up. Tula, the transsexual, fell out of favor, but still she refused to exploit her new image.
I have never wanted to make money out of my predicament. It was something I was a little problem that I was born with, and I got over it, and I mean, I'm not a criminal. It was the way God made me, and I felt I've tried to cope with it in the best way I can.
The coping was made a lot easier by this man, wealthy businessman Elias Fattal. After a passionate and storybook romance, Tula would receive his proposal of marriage on Valentine's Day.
It was when he asked me to marry him that I felt, well, he needs to know. And it was a very difficult time, and I gave him my book to read, and he accepted it very well. And from that point, we sort of got actually closer together.
Tula remembers it as the most blissful time of her life. A lavish synagogue wedding, a reception at the Swank Savoy Hotel, and a honeymoon in the sun. But when they returned home, the crumpets hit the fan.
Well, we took every precaution for the press never not to find out we were married, but sadly they did. And we came back off our honeymoon, and the same day that we stepped off the plane, it was front page, and his family discovered my past that particular way, and they were shocked. And I feel that they've brainwashed him because he's different.
The love of Tula's life turned and ran. Elias and his $16 million fortune went home to Mummy.
I've been with Elias 4 years, and so it's a great shock that he's actually able to turn around after a fabulous wedding and a wonderful honeymoon to suddenly say within 3 days, you know, I want a divorce. And it's just mind-blowing.
What do you think about these? Are they worth converting? I think this looks quite interesting.
I thought maybe on the back, but yeah, on the back of the card.
I think that hand is in a very suspect position now.
To heal the hurt, Tula is picking up the pieces of her shattered life in the modeling world that once embraced her. But still, she's under no illusion that a new portfolio will guarantee the fame she once enjoyed.
It's going to be more difficult now. I'm 34 than it was when I was 24, but I'm sure there's still some jobs out there for me, and hopefully the man of my dreams, because I thought I met him, but sadly I haven't.
Right now, Tula says she is actively fighting for the rights of other transsexuals, like the right to change her birth certificate gender from male to female. That change would allow her to marry legally. After that, watch out, America. Tula is coming to the States looking for fame, fortune, and maybe even a husband.
I see that has y'all talking. Listen, I called cap on that too. For those of you who, I don't think he wait a minute now. Let me say this. I think Tula could have told that dude something a little earlier. I would not want to be dating somebody for 4 years and they had no idea that this happened. But was it really a secret? Because Tula gave him her book. So apparently the book was out there. The book was out there. You know, so it looks like the information was in the book. But when I say that there were some circumstances that I could understand, I can understand Tula's situation. I do. Because at the end of the day, the chromosomes say XX. Now, I can understand when I hear, I think they call these children hermaphrodites or intersex. Hermaphrodites. But I can understand that. And of course, it seems like only in Britain, everybody's really kind of giving more detailed information on that, because I watched a story. Listen, when I tell y'all I went in to go find out more information, I did not want to just be in here talking crazy and just be like, oh, Mr. Big Hands. And I had more stuff that because I needed to understand what is the end game in all of this. August said he obviously didn't read Tula's book. 4 years of dating somebody, Tula should have told him beforehand. But at the end of the day, in my mind's eye, the chromosomes are XX. This is a girl. This is a woman. And I could understand. So there was still that nature. His body was already overrun with estrogen, even though everything else was presenting as a boy. Over nurture, despite what John Money was saying, that whatever he was trying to practice on the twins, the Reimer twins. And please watch that story. Oprah Winfrey actually spoke to them. It is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Because he couldn't break this child's nature. And if you say that it wasn't even about the chromosome, in his chromosomes are in his, if you have an XY chromosome somewhere in your nature, because even then, and I'm going to even say this, for those that have transitioned from male to female, I'm telling you, even the fights that they have going on in England now, you can't just put on a dress and say, you're Shania Twain and now I feel like a woman. No, that nature, the nature that women see in men is actually going to come out. And we saw that with Mr. Man Hands, and we saw that with the geisha face makeup with the big red lipstick. We saw that. We saw that. And these, that one wasn't even on any hormones, but he let us know just how he feel because he had to teach us how to be feminine. But he didn't even know in the first place. You don't even know your makeup is wrong. You look horrible. Okay, horrible. I'm being Listen, my prayer is for all of our babies. You know, keep them close. If there's a way for us to be able to peacefully homeschool or whatever our children, and the Most High is with it, let's do it. Okay, if they need to be out there in the public schools presenting as that extended, most beautiful version of you, then let it be done. I pray that the Most High keeps them protected and watch over each and every one of us, all these parents. These are some terrible things to have to go through. Terrible. And just to know that you will lose all your rights. Nobody cares. Once that child goes to the school officer and says this, that, thus, and the other thing, that's it. It's over. Gender affirming care. And you don't know what's happening when Thomas has become Tula and Tula's become Thomas. You know, I know that I saw that in some places they can actually do this without any consent. They'd rather have your consent, but if they have your consent, they will jack you up. One way or the other. One way or the other. If they don't have your consent, they will jack you up. The kids, these children pretty much have their parents in a chokehold. But see now, again, it's their children. And again, y'all can't stop mixing us up. You gotta mix up black people with CRT and mix us all up in the T movement. Well, okay, you gonna find out. Apparently you didn't get enough. Apparently you did not get enough. But the day coming, keep doing that. Keep doing that. The Most High said that he is one for vengeance. And he says he will repay. And many of us are praying. We understand that time is coming. Stop bringing us into this. It's just like everybody. We are not thinking about y'all. We live enough excitement just being in this black skin. Okay? We're not thinking about y'all. Leave our names out of your mouth. Stop mixing us in there, but if whatever you feel right, you'll find out when it comes back through your children for putting your fingers on us, you'll find out. Everybody will feel like they're in Lake Lanier. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Father, we thank you for everything that you have done for us. We thank you that I believe that I brought this message. Not that anything needs to be fair to you, but I wanted to make sure that it was with understanding for the believers and the unbelievers that do come. We thank you for everything that you've done for us. We thank you for keeping us, watching over us. We pray that you protect our children. You protect and watch over our families. We love you with everything in our heart. Let our words let us not just be a people that honor you with our lips. Let us honor you with our heart, with our soul, with everything that is in us. Let us honor you with our very lives, and let our lives be the living letter. We thank you for everything. In your name, we pray. Shalom, shalom to each and every one of us. Much love, peace, and blessings. Listen, I can't call out everyone's name, but I definitely want to thank the CUC. I want to thank all of you for coming in here to just support the message today. Not so much me, but support the message. And I just want to thank you. I appreciate you all for just being there for me, for being faithful. You did not have to be, but I trust that you were able to take something here with you. Watch over your children. Watch over your family's children. Watch over your friends' children as much as you can. Share this information with them. We never know what's going to happen, but I want to thank the Most High for everything that He is and everything that He does in our lives. Bless each and every one of you. You all have a wonderful
I am the Oracle 007, and I approve this message. So let the games begin.